This is a K-pop boy band, right?
I'm Madeline Ricchiuto, tech journalist who got kidnapped for this short chat we're calling. Whose chatbot came up with this?
I would say it's ours. It's a he. He has a name. I think his name is Mark. I'll leave you with that.
Your chatbot's name is Mark. What is Mark into?
Between the two processors.
So what brings you all here together? Why Intel, HP, and Autodesk?
So I'll start from Intel perspective. We're here for a Pro Day, launching a slew of processors as well as graphics for workstation and the commercial segment. And we're very honored to have our longtime partner and friend here from HP.
Yeah, thanks. I come to these really 100% for our customers. And I work with these guys because of our customers and the value we can deliver. So I'm excited for the conversation.
I think this is really exciting because our customers work in teams to solve problems. There isn't just one person coming together to build massive machines down to the smallest consumer products. They got to figure out how to work together to get the most performance. That's what we do together. How do we bring these solutions to solve these complex problems? Software is one thing. Autodesk, we try and solve those problems, how to design and make together. Coming together to live that in a performant manner, it's exciting. Like, we got to do it or our customers won't succeed.
So they kidnapped you.
Well, with a passion.
It's okay. Is it the hostage situation?
I'll blink in Morse code if I have to. Fair enough.
Good to know. So we've done workstation launches before. Intel, HP, you are longtime partners. What makes this particular launch a little bit different than the average year for a workstation?
I'll start with bringing some really exciting products together through OEM like HP to the market. For the first time, we're bringing high performance and high power efficiency together for mobile. And then, of course, we're bringing the new high-end desktop Xeon processors along with our own workstation graphics cards to the market. Of course, none of that really matters until we have HP brings their amazing portfolio of workstation products to the customers. And of course, working well with important ISV like Autodesk to bring through the workloads benefit.
Yeah. From our point of view, customers really don't buy workstations. Mm-hmm. They buy solutions that really accelerate their business outcomes. And this has always been true. It's more true today than it's ever been. And so, we work really closely with the customers to understand how do we streamline their work and enable them to be their best professional self. You think about the specialized workers that use our stuff, the engineers, the architects, now more and more data scientists, AI developers. They love our stuff, but they need more than just good specs. And so we work with partners like Jeremy, Autodesk, to really understand how we're going to streamline their work. Because at the end of the day, it's all about accelerating their outcomes.
I like the way you put that, professional. Our users are building media and entertainment, Hollywood movies, blockbusters, down to documentaries that require a ton of processing to move around, to our AEC market, construction, layout, all of those pieces, to designing the building we stand in here today, to the roads we'll drive on to get here, and then the mechanical engineering, all those pieces coming together. They need to have professional solutions to really deliver that performance. And that's where we see this coming together. It's, you buy that to deliver the top-notch performance.
Agree. And it's the full stack, because at the end of the day, the full stack has got to meet their needs, or it's just another thing they've got to deal with besides creating value.
And I love the idea, we were talking about this earlier, about taking that burden of managing the stack off the user. They just want performance. And when you engineer things well together, it works well for the customer.
Exactly.
Speaking of performance, since that is a huge part of the product segment here, how do you plan to actually showcase that performance without just relying on synthetic benchmark numbers that might not mean anything to a person who doesn't spend their daily life running Geekbench 600 times?
Yeah, that's a good question. With our Inventor product, we're integrating DirectX 12 for GPU rendering. We handle, from a rendering perspective on a CPU, on a GPU, anything the workstation can give us. But that is one specific outcome and an outstanding one. But we look across, we've seen things in accelerations for GPU for our toolpath generation. Things that would take days or they'd let run overnight can happen in seconds, and users can make decisions faster. It feels faster. They can do more. This isn't, this is step change. This is not just, oh, it's a little bit faster, it's a little bit nicer. They can actually get more ideas, more iterations faster. And all of that comes together. We're doing things like automated drawings today. Automated drawings isn't as simple as push a button and print. It's how do I take a design, document it properly, put all the proper dimensions on it, the views, maybe a render of it. Those are lots of tasks that have to happen, some in serial, some in parallel. How do we get all of that together, take advantage of the hardware that the user has? Our customers will feel it when they get their job done faster. A benchmark is just a number, as you say.
I love the question. I love the question, and I like your answer. And I would just build on your answer, which is that's why we work closely with ISVs like Autodesk. Because when you come out with something new, you can show the benchmarks. Benchmarks are important, and they serve a purpose. But customers know when we come out, of course, I'm going to talk about all the great benchmarks that I like. But when I come out and I talk about the workflow, and hey, when you run our tools, the full stack, and you can save, 30% time, the end user that hears that does thousands of iterations during the day, immediately knows what value we're delivering. And so we really do focus on, as much as I love the workstation, we want to focus on enabling the customers to get every ounce of performance that they can out of the workstation we deliver.
Yeah. And I think just to build on top of both Jim and Jeremy's points, like when we build out new hardware capabilities, it's a long time coming, right? Silicon is a long lead time design product. For example, in this generation, not the first time, but we continue to enhance the integrated graphics performance as well as capability. One important thing is ray tracing. That's historically more of a discrete graphics thing. Now we introduce into thin light mobile workstations. But that means nothing until Jeremy's team put that to use, right? For example, photorealistic rendering, if we can leverage that hardware ray tracing, hardware and software ray tracing capability in Jim's box in a thin light system that renders more than 3 times faster than before. That means a lot for the actual user.
Yeah, and all of these things can come together to enable teams. So how do I visualize what I've built? How do I help people understand what I've designed? All of those things need to happen at the pace of design, at the pace of the market. And these tools that you give our customers allow them to do that. It's just hugely beneficial.
Just for our audience to make sure everyone's on the same page, right? We're between two processors, technically more beside two processors with the two workstations over there, but semantics. Let's just reiterate, the two processors in question here are the Xeon 600 series and the Intel vPro version of the latest
Ultra Series 3. Yeah, you can say that. We also have graphics, which technically is not a processor, but it's a piece of silicon as well.
Right, and then there's new Intel Arc discrete graphics to go with that? Okay. So we have full proper workstations. Are these intended for big enterprise clients? Are these your, Pixar style machines? Or are they more for a general user, sort of small businesses, individual creators? Or are you looking at kind of hitting all categories?
Yeah. So in our portfolio, with what we develop with the Intel products, is we cover the whole spectrum of what you just talked about, from the most demanding, workload intensive AI rendering, GPU heavy, all the way down to just really high mobile performance. And more, a lot of the creators and the engineers, they need performance wherever they go. whether it's to a different location or to a customer or to a partner. And so giving them the ability to have, real performance in a mobile form factor is a big deal.
Design happens everywhere. The right tool for the job. Our users will bring a laptop onto the shop floor or to a customer site, down to a workstation in your home if you're working from home, or in the office. We see this all over the world, and with connected workflows, you need to use the right tool for the right job. And in a pinch, you got your laptop and it's working. You want to go do heavy duty work, you get the workstation, but that's not limited to enterprise anymore. From 1 to 2 users all the way up to hundreds of users. We have in our products, actually across the Autodesk portfolio, from an individual indie filmmaker to a person who's just like, I got a 3D printer and want to figure out, I'm going to start a new business, all the way up to you're making giant machines that make other machines, or robotics. They all have different groups of teams, and sometimes even bringing in students and developers, all students as developers, and saying, hey, how can you contribute, and helping to train the new generation. We need this kind of power across the board for our users. It is no longer, the bar is no longer education or even hardware anymore. You guys are delivering what our customers need, and they need it everywhere.
Yeah, I like what you said about the right compute at the right place. It's also at the right time, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, we've developed solutions that complement, like the Autodesk solution, that let our customers share their GPUs in their workstations.
Yeah.
So I can be working on a mobile workstation, and I can leverage the GPUs from my big workstations. I can share the GPUs across the big workstations, and it's really kind of a game changer for having the right compute at the right time for our customers.
Yeah. There's also a very important aspect that I think the answer to our question is yes, all of above and more, because there are a lot of people doing creative work, no matter it's creating code, creating rendering, 2D, 3D modeling, and any other sort of work. Some of them may not realize what they're missing in their life and work is workstation. And that's the opportunity in front of all of us. And that's before you even talk about the AI crossing the chasm beyond the early adopters and rapidly enter the early majorities, right? And do they even know what's the right tool for their workloads? And I think there's a lot of need and demand for compute for us to go capture.
So I think that touched on a problem with the workstation space as a whole, is that people don't always understand what these machines are and what they're ideal for. So how do you guys plan to address that? How are you currently addressing it, and is that going to change sometime in the future?
That's another great question. I think you're right. There is a problem. So when you go to the traditional specialized worker, engineer, filmmaker, game developer, architect, you talk about a workstation and they know what you're talking about. Some of the new specialized workers that are coming up, you say, hey, you need a workstation, and they think you're talking about a desk at IKEA. And when you get into, again, we don't start with the specs. We start with, here's the solution, here's what it enables you to do, and how fast and how you can be productive. It clicks right away. It's like, oh yes, I want more of that. That's what I need.
We have found, especially in manufacturing, but it goes across construction and media entertainment, there's a skills gap out there on the market today. We need more people doing bigger work, whether it be engineering, whether it be creative, wherever. And as they're coming up, these new designers, we'll just call them, I don't even want to limit it to engineers, these new creators are coming in, and they have an expectation of performance that they got from their formative years. It's just, they expect it to work right. And to be able to deliver that to them at a production engineering level, because production engineering is inherently complex. We're doing our best to simplify it best we can, but it's inherently complex. It's tackling massive problems that they don't think about. Like, how are we handling wind shear on a building? How are we looking at, the stresses and strains of a mount point for a machine and doing that real time so that you can get results faster? They just expect instant performance. That's the new expectation. They think it's a desk, but they don't care. They want it to be fast. Yeah. That's got to be the fastest desk in the world, right? And like, all right, well, what do we got to do to get there?
Yeah, And we need to go to the user communities, right? They live online, they live offline, they are in different places.
Yeah.
And Jim and I have been talking about it over the years. And one of the first realizations, the personal I had was, this is before the Gen AI era, where like my son, bigger boy, was doing a lot of calculus computation. I'm like, oh, there are a lot of like hobbyists doing modeling and data science stuff, and they're building their own machines. Like, they should buy a proper workstation only if they know, right? And we went there and started to do some work. I think Jim's team has taken that to a whole different level with the data science, et cetera, in the recent years. Examples like that continue to pop up.
That makes sense. You did mention a sort of skills gap, and we'd previously talked about AI. So how exactly does that work into this launch in particular?
So we can talk about the capabilities of the processors and stretch to the platform level capability we want. I think we need both Jim and Jeremy come in to help translate that into the outcomes and the capabilities and what the users actually want to get, and they've been missing all along. That translation is super, super critical.
Yeah, and I think the more you can make it so that you don't have to be the IT guy, the IT manager, and the creator all in one, the better. Because again, our goal is to enable people to do their best work. And to do that, you streamline their work, you really optimize the workflows, take as much friction out of the workflow as you can so that they can focus on the most meaningful work. And all the other stuff that should just work does.
You know, for us, it ends up coming down again to that quality tools. If you're going to go into AI, like this gets really complex and is moving so fast that the world is changing under it. But if you have a quality tool to deal with that, it matters. So, example, you know, you start with generative models. Like, is that going to be a ton of compute at once in parallel? What is that going to handle? And then as we've transitioned to an agentic world, we at Autodesk look at it as agents. There are going to be lots of them doing tasks and work for our users. They are just another persona. They're just another user using our software. There's just going to be more of them. So more than ever, we need to take advantage of compute wherever it is. I've heard our CEO has said to me, why isn't my computer getting hot? What are you doing to take advantage of the hardware our customers have? Why am I not hearing this thing kick up and go? And that is like, I'm paraphrasing, but it said to me personally, like, yes, there's cloud, there's local, these tasks happen everywhere, wherever we can take the best advantage of them to give the customer the end result. Those, as AI comes up, we're going to need more and more from our partners to say, where can we automate these tasks? Where can we take these off of the user as a burden? AI is just we're going to give natural language ways to execute things. They still need to be executed. We're looking at resiliency and speed in the software world is critical. Well, those things need resilient and fast hardware to run well as well.
Well, I guess your CEO is really smart. He knows the hardware is already paid for. You may as well just put into full use by running all the time, as compared to running online API tokens just by the tokens, right?
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, and for sure it's tokens. I think all the Gen AI now, all the agentic AI, it's really exploding in the cloud. And there's really four tenets. One is, we call it data gravity. Some of our customers call it data physics. They don't have the bandwidth, or they can't afford for the bandwidth to push, call it disposable data, back to the cloud, store it multiple places. So they want to compute at the data. There's real-time use cases, real-time responsiveness, whether it's computer vision use cases, defense use cases where, you know, they're defending against somebody that pulls the trigger. You don't even have time to let that data go down the hall and back. You know what I mean? And then there's data sovereignty, and there's air gapped. You got regulated industries where it's got to be local. And then what David mentioned, you know, the tokens. The token consumption is exploding, especially with agentic. And for all those reasons, people are going to want to take advantage of local compute in addition to the growth in the cloud. So the more the cloud grows, the more they're going to need it at the edge. So it's really good for us.
Yep.
Which gets into the sort of hybrid AI zone where you're using local and cloud support.
Yeah. They don't really care where it's happening as long as it's happening at the right place at the right time and it's seamless.
Yeah. And I'm talking with a lot of developers. I live in the Bay Area. I happen to know a few hundreds of them. And what they're trying to figure out is sort of what you mentioned about your CEO is figuring out is how do I load up the compute I have with the limit I have, right? In terms of having the agent writing the code, they're not letting the agent run a chunk of code at a time. They're running hours at a time so that in a few hours, the engineer can go back and check the result before send off the agent to do the next tranche of hours of work, right? So to Jim's earlier point, that token will run very fast, and there's always going to be a limit in terms of how much you can run from an online API token cost perspective. Then hybrid will come in, agentic experience will come in. If you can orchestrate multiple agents running, that's taking advantage of a local plus online, working seamlessly, and then I can have them working literally 24/7. I'm delivering the best return on investment within the cost and spending envelope. That's the ideal end state. A lot of people are trying to figure out how to get there.
For us, the simplicity and efficiency does not mean the loss of optionality. How do I go make the right decisions and use what I have? Give our customers that ability to say, this is where I want to do this. This is how I want to do this. And then we all partner together. When they come in and say, we could come in as a team and say, well, here, we've worked with HP, we've worked with Intel. Here's how we can help solve your problem for all of your users at a company. And it's that kind of partnership that really creates success for both.
AI, though, has become something of a complex term, right? It was AI is the way of the future, but now we're seeing some additional costs and drawbacks to artificial intelligence, especially with data centers causing supply chain issues, particularly for consumers. There's concerns about energy consumption and environmental impact and how this is impacting everyone's jobs and their futures. So how do you balance between the more negative aspects of AI and the things that you're trying to do to, functionally accelerate the future?
I think it's similar to what I said before. I think really by understanding the real benefits across the whole compute spectrum, from far edge, your IoT devices, to your clients, to your workstations, to your data centers, to your cloud, unlocking the benefits across that spectrum for the customers in a seamless way is going to be better for all the things you mentioned. Now, in terms of the benefits of AI, I think it's becoming very clear. We kind of got over the hype curve and the benefits, is particularly with agentic AI. It's really clear, like it's going to change the way people work. And I don't necessarily subscribe to, well, it's going to replace all the jobs. I think it's going to change the way people work. And I think those people that really understand how to take advantage of AI and how to utilize it to do new things, it's just going to be a tremendous opportunity. And so those that don't are going to fall behind. But I think the beauty of what's happening right now is it's an opportunity for everyone to learn more and to reskill. I think reskilling is going to be kind of the next wave of education, with people, now able to do things that maybe they weren't, trained in college to do. They can reskill and they've got new tools and capabilities to go do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the sustainability aspect is why I push for the hybrid, is because the only way you're going to optimize is to really optimize the benefits locally. Optimize and utilize data center, cloud, all that, where it's the best choice. And if we start to enable customers to use compute at the right place at the right time, and unlock those benefits, it's going to be better overall.
Yeah, very well said. I think if you think about the multiple races in the age of AI, there's a race toward the best capabilities. They always push for the best, the biggest, and so on and so forth. But there's also the race toward the most efficient.
Mm-hmm.
The most efficient doesn't mean it's a sacrificing. It's more just the right tool for the right job. The example I always give people is, if I'm just doing a simple, query, it doesn't need to activate all the trillion parameters of the larger model. Why would it trigger that. It's just a waste of energy more than anything, right? And that's where MOE model comes in and say, oh, I only will activate a small portion of the total model. Okay, that saves a lot of tokens. But then if I just go one step further back to what Jim and I and Jeremy were talking about, this hybrid model where, oh, this is simple enough. The local model is more than capable of answering that with a little bit web search API query. Then it's extremely efficient. The hardware is mainly paid for. You pay just a tiny bit to get the online information through this API, and that's about it. It's a far more efficient as compared to I just go straight to the 2 trillion parameter cloud model and just activate the whole thing for a very simple question.
Makes sense.
For us, how to do more with less has been part of our ethos for a very, very long time. With Autodesk software, being able to optimize for factory throughput. How can I decide what is the best and most efficient way to build these parts? How can I take the most advantage of the energy I'm using within that factory? Or from a mechanical design standpoint, I can now look at 3 or 4 different options and choose the one that deals with materials that are more affordable, local, easier to deal with. Whereas before, I may or may not have time for one. Can I just get it out the door and meet my deadline? Now, designers, makers, engineers can look and say, I'm going to evaluate multiple options in the same amount of time and perhaps choose the one that is the most efficient. It allows us to cross that chasm into real sustainability, where we say, I'm actually going to be enabled to choose the most sustainable version instead of the one I can get out the door. And by leveraging the AI and compute technology wherever we have it, it gives these users, these people who make these things, that choice. That was harder to do because there's always some other reason not to do it. Well, now with this new world, we've got so many more options for our users to be able to take advantage of this and not only meet, but exceed their deadlines.
Awesome. So just as a wrap up, since the average modern attention span is about the length of a viral TikTok, what are your final takeaways that you want our audience here to actually remember once they close the video?
Maybe I'll start. We're super excited about the Pro Day. We're bringing a whole slew of new products to the market through close partnership with HP and Autodesk. And we believe this is not just another refresh of products. It's delivering step function improvement across multiple vectors to change end user experiences. And we thank HP and Autodesk partnership to bring this to life.
Yeah, I guess I would close with where I started with. I'm excited about it just because it's really all about the customers. And the thing about innovation, and innovation at HP is alive and well. It's part of our DNA. What comes with that is we know that when it comes to innovation, we don't get a vote. Only the customers really vote. And it's when the customer says, oh, wow, you've made me more productive or you've accelerated my outcomes, then you know you've innovated. Because I mean, we invent stuff every day, but unless it helps the customer, it's not really innovation. And I'm super excited about the work we've been doing with Intel and Autodesk, and I'm excited about the value that we're going to deliver to customers.
I think I would like. I'm with both of you. I think I would like our users, or the viewers, I should say, to come away with this going, this is a team of people, of companies coming together to deliver resilient systems for them to continue to innovate. That our engineering teams coming together to look at this holistically so that they don't have to. They get to come in, get the right tools, partner with us, and be able to get your job done. We are working hard to make sure that that is as simple and easy for you to just turn the machine on and start working. And the compute, the design, the interface, and the beautiful things come out of it will be delightful, and we're excited for you to try.
This has been Between Two Processors. Why? I'm taking this with me, just so you know.